Yeah, luckily.
Thank you. Let me see. I think this is yours.
So do you like copy it? Or what do you do now?
We can see. If you want her to go copy it, give her money to copy. They still we got another one in. Well, it's.
I'm guessing this is an opposition.
We emailed Cheryl. Oh, this is Cheryl? Cheryl?
You've been very pleasant.
First, you're.
They're good. Good afternoon, everybody. The July 1st, 2024 P and Z work session meeting is called to order at 5:15. Does anyone?
Kathy,
Yes, Kathy.
he's calling the meeting to order.
Sorry. All right, we called the work session meeting to order. Does anyone wish to make a comment? Please limit those comments to 3 minutes. Please state your name and city of residence for the record.
Seeing one member online, Shelby Smith, member of city staff, but not seeing any public comments online.
Seeing none in person, we'll go ahead and turn the meeting over to Assistant Planning Director, Ms. Kelly Atkinson.
Good evening. Kyle, do you need him to read in number 1? Kyle? Oh, maybe I didn't hear him. I'm sorry.
Turn it over to Kelly.
Oh, okay. I'm the one who needs to open my ears tonight. All right, so just looking at our items for tonight, we have our zoning case for item number 5. Cheryl will present that for you all tonight. And then we also have one that you guys won't normally see very often. This is a request to waive a portion of the park fees for a plat that previously came through. So this was a request after the plat made its way through the cycle, and so it'll just address that. And then our last one is the plat case for the Hillside Village, and Christina will present that to you all. That one normally would qualify for a consent agenda, but we pulled it down to the regular agenda just to give you all a little bit more information. Are there any questions I can answer on any of those?
I think I know the answer. Has there been any updates to FM 93 widening improvements from TxDOT?
I haven't received
No,
anything,
nothing.
Jason.
Nothing recently.
Thank you.
Can I speak on that? I tried to get them to do it 20 years ago and I've been after them and it's hadn't happened yet.
We'll have lengthy conversations, I'm sure, here shortly. So. Any other questions? Thank you, Kelly. There's anything else from you?
Just the item number 2.
What am I missing? Where am I? Turn it over to her. Invitation and pledge. Affidavits. Oh, I don't see it.
Oh, on the director's report?
Yes.
Does he need to read that in? Oh, okay. Well, just real quickly, you guys received a copy of the director's report and a couple of these, I see a couple of notations we need to make, but otherwise, did y'all have any questions on any of the cases on the director's report?
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Kelly. All right, I'll ask volunteers for the invocation and the pledge. Vote for the invocation. Thank you. We will now hear from Miss Kathy Gover in regards to affidavits.
Commissioners, one affidavit to abstain has been received prior to this meeting from Commissioner Jurasik for item number 5, case FY 2428 ZC. Is it correct that no additional affidavits to abstain have been received for this meeting? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. There's no additional business. We will close the work session at 5:20 PM. Thank you.
So it's just like- Sort the back.
That's good. That's what you need to do.
Right, like at 5:29.
Or maybe not.
Sure. When it comes time for the presentation, I'll switch over to Word. This will pop up, but right now I've got a minimize. Once you switch over to slideshow, you may have to expand it to some of the things that you may have.
Okay.
But this is already being shared. And then that-
So we're ready to that. And that's all you do for now.
Yeah. I mean, you can, and we can do that. Just have that. Notification. There's stitches. Bring that up. ask for the public comments during our meeting, just come to this line. And once we finish, it's a move to the regular agenda, then you can just close this one. Yeah, you can always, you don't have to. Notice that you do this, that you go down and like. click
Yeah, because I don't know
around the
how to
thing.
do stuff.
You can left, right goes forward and back, up and down goes forward and back, same thing. If you get stuck, I'm right here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would.
It's a lot. No, y'all should. You did, but you know what? Yeah. Except
Got the clock pulled up. Yeah, she just reminded me about that. Since we've probably got quite
3
a
minutes.
few people to talk.
I'll try. Sometimes corner, that's an hour right there.
Is there anyone else that would like to sign up to speak? We'll get started in about 4 minutes.
Oh, look to your left, I see.
They haven't joined the monthly, they haven't joined their own, I tell you that. David, it looks like somebody, David. And here comes Mikal. Mikal and David have joined online. Cisco's still trying to join.
You can't. Yes, yes. I think they're all for that number 5.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. I will now call the July 1st, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting to order at 5:30 PM. Miss Kathy Gover, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, good evening and welcome to the July 1st, 2024 Planning and Zoning Open Session Meeting. Commissioners, please state present if in attendance for this meeting. Commissioner Morales.
Present.
Commissioner Walker.
Present.
Commissioner Jurasic. For the record, Commissioner Jurasic is not present. Commissioner Krause. For the record, Commissioner Krause is not present. Commissioner Smith.
Present.
Commissioner Jeans.
Present.
Commissioner Carney.
Present.
Vice Chair McBride.
Present.
Chair Marshall. For the record, Chair Marshall is not present. Also, for the record, a quorum is present with 6 commissioners in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, this time we will have the invocation led by Commissioner Morales and the pledge led by Commissioner Carney. Please stand.
Join me, please. Oh, gracious Heavenly Father, we humbly come to you with a thankful heart, thankful for especially this week as we celebrate the 4th of July. We thank you for the freedom and for all those who have sacrificed for us to be able to enjoy this freedom. Father, we ask that you be with us as we meet today and that you give our people and their community a spirit of unity as we follow you, so that with one heart and one mind, we may work together for the good of our city. Guide us as we meet and give us the directions that will be pleasing to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, confirming the meeting agenda items. Any questions or comments? No objection. We'll approve the meeting agenda items by unanimous consent. They are approved. At this time, are there any public, or we'll call for any public comments at this time? If so, please limit those comments to 3 minutes. We have 12 people signed up in person.
Are they signed for the agenda item 5? Because
There's
we can have those comments with that,
There's one for item 6.
and we can have those comments during the
Is
meeting.
everybody
unless-
okay with having their public comments during the actual agenda item? Any issues with that? All right,
We all need our time to speak, right?
yes. Unless you want 6 minutes to speak. All right. All right. Next item will be June 17th, 2024 meeting minutes. If there are no objections, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion for approval.
That's a motion by Commissioner Morales and a second by Commissioner Smith. Kathy, can we get a vote?
Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Jeans.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney, Vice Chair McBride.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Next is item number 5. Consider recommending adopting an ordinance authorizing rezoning from agricultural to planned development with a base zoning, single-family 1 being at least 35% and no more than 25% multifamily 2, 15% general retail, and 25% single-family attached 3 on 123.31 plus or minus acres located in the Maximo Moreno Survey, abstract number 14, in the city of Temple, Texas, addressed as 1301 FM 93. This case will be presented by Principal Planner, Ms. Maxwell.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair McBride. So this is scheduled for the city council readings, first reading on July the 18th and the second on August the 1st. This first slide shows the location of the property. This is on the north, actually the south side of FM 93, just west of Hartrick Bluff Road. The area in white is inside the city limits, and the cream colored area is in our ETJ. And this shows an aerial view of the property, and it's currently undeveloped, heavily wooded. The surrounding properties are primarily developed with detached single-family homes, residential uses. There's a few undeveloped properties, and then, as you can see, our large wooded area here as well. And this shows the current zoning of the property. And in this area, the green properties are all zoned agricultural district. The lighter green UE is urban estate, which are lots that are about a half acre in size. And you've got PD neighborhood service as the base zoning district here at the corner, single family 1. Those with the hatch lines are planned development districts. This has a base of single family 1. This has a base of single family 1. Here's single family 3. Single family 1 in this area. And then also here on the east side, a planned development with single family 2. So the next slides are pictures of the site and the surrounding area. The first two here are views from FM 93, and then this is a view from Hartrick Bluff Road. I'm gonna start with properties on the north side, kind of in north side of FM 93 in this general vicinity, kind of on the west side. There's an unplatted property about 10 acres with residential use. And then you have Ridgewood Estates. The lots, two of the lots on the western side are about 7/10 of an acre in size, and then most of the lots are about 3/10 of an acre. When you get to the very corner, I don't have a good shot of that, but that's where the neighborhood service lot is located, and that's about 2.5 acres in size. And then properties on the south side of FM 93, again, in this general vicinity here. These again are residential uses. These range in size from about 1 acre to 5 acres, and they're unplatted. And then if you keep going a little bit west, you have the landing at Heritage Oaks subdivision along Troy and Lane. Again, detached single family homes. There's a couple of lots that are currently undeveloped, and these are about 1/2 acre in size. A little bit further to the south, you have Boutwell Lane East and the Boutwell Lane subdivisions, 3 different phases. Again, detached single family homes. These are about 5 acres in size. And then if you go on the east side, Hartrick Bluff Road, starting there at the corner and then moving downward, you've got an undeveloped property. And then you've got some subdivisions, smaller subdivisions with platted lots. These are generally about 1/2 acre to about 9 acres in size, depending upon where you are along that stretch of road. A little bit further down on Hartrick Bluff Road, kind of the same thing, mostly detached single family homes. These are about 1.5 acre to 18 acres in size. You've got some large tracts that haven't been platted. And then as you get close to Morgan Drive, there's a couple of residential lots and subdivisions. These are about 7/10 of an acre. And then when you go down on, over here, I guess, down on Morgan Road to the cul-de-sac where you're right adjacent to this property, again, detached single family homes. And these are generally about 5 acres in size. So this is the site plan that was provided. A mixed use development is proposed with general retail along the frontage. Then you have multifamily 2 for apartments, single family attached 3 for townhomes, and then single family 1 for detached single family homes. On the different zoning districts, there's certain percentages that are allocated for the different uses. The PD basically requires a minimum 35% to be reserved for single family 1 use, maximum 25% for single family attached 3, which is the townhomes, maximum 25% for the multifamily, and maximum 15% for general retail. So we basically took these allocations, these are the resulting acreage, and then we multiplied by the density that would be allowed per acre. And you come up with this column of estimated dwellings. And again, this is based upon that percentage, potentially 1,300 dwelling units. Do want to point out that that there are some limiting factors on the property related to water availability and access. I'll talk a little bit about those. The property has frontage on FM 93, which is a TxDOT highway. Potentially two entrances may be approved. I think the applicants had some preliminary conversations with TxDOT. They indicated that possibly left and right turn lanes would be required, and a traffic impact analysis would likely be required as well. The applicant's working to secure a third entrance from Hartrick Bluff Road. Basically, our code requires for every 150 dwelling units, you need to have at least 2 standard entrances or 1 alternate design. The alternate design is a wider pavement width. So based upon that, 2 of those wider entrances would allow up to 300 dwelling units. And then after that, the code is not real clear. So we're proposing a PD amendment to kind of keep that ratio. So 3 alternate design entrances would allow up to 450 dwelling units. And then 4 of those entrances will allow up to 600 dwelling units. And then we do have a PD condition that limits the total dwelling units to a maximum of 600. So on the thoroughfare plan, FM 93 is a major arterial shown here in blue. TxDOT, it's a TxDOT roadway. They have no funded projects to widen this roadway at this time. There is a regional plan. In the regional plan, there's a project to widen the roadway from 2 to 4 lanes with the median. However, this is listed as regionally significant but unfunded. And then on Hartrick Bluff Road, this is shown here in orange is a community collector road. The city has a CIP project to improve this roadway to 2 lanes with a center turn lane. 30% of the design is funded or budgeted to be funded in FY25. And then on the north side of FM 93, there's a CIP project that includes widening and actually a traffic signal at the intersection. This project is funded and expected to bid this fall. With regard to utilities, this map shows water in blue and sewer lines in green. So there is water along FM 93 and also along Hartrick Bluff Road. The connection to Hartrick Bluff, to the Hartrick Bluff line is what's recommended for service to this development, but the capacity is limited. A pressure analysis is needed to be conducted by the applicant to determine how many homes can actually be served at this time. We have done an in-house estimation that approximately 150 dwelling units may be served by the existing system, but again, that would need to be confirmed with a pressure analysis study. There is a future CIP project to extend a 12-inch water line. That's in FY30 to FY40, so that's a few years out. With regard to sewer, again, that's the green line. There's a 12-inch line along FM 93 west of this site. To serve this development, a temporary lift station may be needed. And also there are some future CIP projects that include an 8-inch gravity line, a lift station, a water treatment plant, but those are not scheduled at this time. The next slides have different tables that are in your packet. I could spend a whole lot of time on these. This is a comparison of uses that are allowed in the different zoning districts. I guess the takeaway is in the residential districts, single family 1, single family attached 3, and multifamily 2. The uses are primarily limited to residential uses. When you get into general retail, you start having more retail service uses, office uses, recreational uses, vehicle service uses, restaurants, and hotel motel could be a possibility. This provides a summary of surrounding property and uses. I think I've kind of covered that. On the dimensional standards, again, this is a comparison of the different zoning districts. Just want to point out that in the ag district, the minimum lot size is 1 acre. The SF1 would be 7,500 square feet, and the SFA3 would be 2,300 square feet. Also, with regarding to building height, ag 3 stories is allowed. In SF1, 2 stories is the max. SFA3 is 2.5 stories, MF2 is 4 stories, and GR is 3 stories. And these are trip generation estimates, different scenarios. This is for single family detached based upon 150 units or 200 units. Also single family attached, different scenarios, and then multifamily, different scenarios for that as well. If the full 600 dwelling units were developed into a multifamily style, it's estimated that a little over 4,000 weekday average trips would be generated. And then we have another table here just in general for a couple of office, just a scenario for office use, for a shopping plaza, and for a car wash, just to give an idea for the general retail portion. This is TxDOT traffic counts. These were taken in 2022. Just want to point out Hartrick Bluff Road on the south side, approximately just over 1,300 was the count. On the north side, about a little over 1,100. And then on the FM 93, you've got 10,000 on this side and 6,000 over here. And then we have a crash analysis information from 2019 to 2024. During that time frame, there were 107 crashes along FM 93 corridor, 0 fatalities, good thing, 8 serious injury and 15 minor injury. And then at the intersection itself, there were 21 crashes, 0 fatalities, 1 serious injury, and 3 minor injuries. This is another chart in our packet, the PD criteria and compliance summary. We usually go through that when there's a PD. We believe all the criteria will either be met now or in conjunction with the subdivision plat. So this is the comprehensive plan. The green area is protected for rural estates, and you can see that the city limit line basically is the dashed line. The yellow is residential and neighborhood service, and then the pink is corridor mixed use, and mixed use activity center has the hatched lines. So I do want to point out, although this says rural estate, the boundaries are not absolute and they can shift somewhat. We've had other cases where the boundaries have shifted a little bit. Rural estate is a typical category that was assigned for ETJ properties due to limited infrastructure. The residential and neighborhood service with the mixed use activity center supports a variety of uses, including the multifamily use and the retail use. The site plan that was presented shows mixed uses and higher residential density closer to FM 93, and then it transitions to a less dense residential use southward. So we feel that the plan is consistent with the intent of the future development plan and appears reasonable when utilities are available to support these uses. And this is the Trails Master Plan and Sidewalk Ordinance and Exhibit. There's a proposed thoroughfare connector along FM 93. And then there's kind of hard to see, but there's a dashed line for a proposed greenway trail. These are both included as PD conditions for the development. There's also a condition for a minimum 5-foot sidewalk along the internal collector streets on both sides, or a 10-foot shared use path on one side. So in the compliance summary, we feel the proposed case is in compliance with the future development plan, with the thoroughfare plan, compatible with surrounding uses and zoning. However, with regard to public facilities being available, as we just covered, that's limited. So notice of the rezoning was printed in the paper on June the 20th. Notices were also mailed to property owners within 200 feet. This included 49 properties. 11 of the properties are in the city limits. Those are shown right here in this area. And there were 38 courtesy notices to the property owners in the ETJ. 13 responses have been returned, representing 14 properties, with 1 in agreement right here in the corner and 12 in opposition. So you can see all the red Ds. Of the 13 responses that we received, only 4, as it can appear, are in the city limits. I do want to note that we did have 1 disagreement that was returned, and that's outside the notification boundary. So they didn't receive a notice, but they are close by, so they did want to comment on it. I think we did get 1 more that was hand delivered just now at the meeting in opposition. I want to say it's property 40. It's somewhere in this area, 40 or 39. So there was 1 more disagreement. I think you have that probably in front of you. And the Development Review Committee did review this on June the 3rd, and their recommendations have been incorporated. So we recommend approval subject to the following conditions. Use allocation, again, we talked about this, a minimum 35% reserved for single family 1 use, maximum 25% for SFA 3, the townhomes, maximum 25% for multifamily, and maximum 15% for general retail. In the MF2 section, the height is limited to 2 stories if within 75 feet of an existing or future single-family lot. Multifamily use is allowed in the GR section per the multifamily 2 standards. This, however, cannot, the whole multifamily use cannot exceed 25%. I wanted to point this out. In GR, usually multifamily use is not allowed. So that's why there's a PD condition to allow that. Compliance with the site development plan, detailed site plan approval by the planning commission, the city council is required for the MF2 and the GR sections. So those would have to come back to you for review when they're ready to develop the property. Sidewalk along FM 93, minimum 5-foot sidewalk on both sides of the internal collector streets or 10-foot shared use path on one side. The alignment of the collector streets and the Greenway Trail will be finalized with the plat. No residential driveways are allowed on the collector streets. Compliance with the entrance access design standards. Again, we talked about this a little bit for dwelling units over 300. It was a little unclear. So we're basically requiring that there's one standard entrance for every 75 dwelling units or one for every 150, one alternate design entrance for every 150 dwelling units. Total dwelling units will not exceed 600 feet. I flagged this because the applicant has indicated that they are agreeable to the 600 dwelling unit cap. However, they'd like to be able to go to that 600 limit with 3 entrances. The way this is written, they would basically have to have 4 entrances in order to reach 600. So they're asking for consideration for that. Our recommendation does stay as it is with 4 in order to reach 600. With 3, you could only reach 450. FM 93 access is contingent on TxDOT approval. Access to Hartrick Bluff Road is contingent on the developer acquiring private property and CIP improvements to Hartrick Bluff Road. Development of the property also contingent upon the provision of adequate water supply. A minimum 20-foot wide tree preservation buffer is required adjacent to existing residential use. Landscaping is required per our code, plus single-family lots required to have a turf or sod and a minimum turf or sod, and a minimum 1 tree in the front yard, and preservation of existing trees and vegetation is encouraged. And then a subdivision plat is required prior to development. And that's all I have on that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Before y'all have any questions, I'll just note that all 3 of the applicants are online. So if you need to ask them a question, we can have them unmute and respond as needed.
So in that red circle, one of those red squares looks like it's on 93. That's showing us 1,300 trips.
Are you looking at this one?
Yes. I'm just wondering how it goes from 10,000 to 6,000.
So I'm Jason Deckman, Senior Transportation Planner. I would have to go back and look at that out. I'm not sure why that label didn't pop up. But the 2 that you're pointing at, those are on Hartrick Bluff. Yeah, as for why does it go from 10,000 on one to 6,000 of the other, you've got a couple other options where traffic could go up 5th Street or could be, being diverted down Hartrick Bluff. So that could be where that number changes, that more traffic is over towards the 31st side. I would caution trying to do math with these numbers because each of them, it's a statistic. It's an individual average, but it's averaged over several data points, several days, several weeks. So they may not have the counters at those 2 locations during the same time frame. When they do their data collection, you'll see those airlines across the road and they're out there for a while and then they'll move. So there may be a slightly different traffic pattern when they collected one versus the other. But the idea is to give you the general dynamics of the situation. I think we'll wait for the public hearing by all means.
Questions or comments? So to be clear, there's no funding in place or plan in place for FM 93 to
Correct.
be increased other than the developer do it themselves like they did up by closer to 31st. CIP projects are
Right. So I would
design funded.
For Hartrick Bluff
Yes.
on the south side, The
Design,
design is
keyword.
30% funded in FY 25.
Design though.
Let me clarify
I'll let
that.
you, yes, please clarify.
That's a 30% design set, so not the full. And then Richard, maybe City Engineer Richard Wilson can come up here and educate us between the difference of a 30% design set and a 90% or 100%. It comes down to the level of detail. So we've
Okay.
got the 30% designs. Those are funded to be completed in the next fiscal year.
But just the
That's
design,
just the
not
design,
actual breaking.
not
ground.
construction.
Okay, so no dirt
Right.
being moved.
To the question about the TxDOT, and be clear, what they would more than likely be required, and we've already notified TxDOT. What do you think, they could get for entrances, and are you going to require a TIA? And the area engineer said, more than likely it's going to be 2, because there's just not enough room for more. And they'll make the determination if it needs a TIA when the subdivision comes in. But he said more than likely, they'll have to apply for a driveway permit to make any new connection to FM 93. So when they apply for that driveway permit is when TxDOT will make the determination, tell them, before we approve your permit, you're going to need to do a TIA. My educated guess is they're going to be told they need to do turn lanes, both an acceleration, deceleration lane on the south side, probably widen out for a center turn lane in the middle. But that would be independent of any TxDOT widening project. So they may be required to do the turn lanes for their own safety for the traffic coming in and out of that development. But TxDOT may come down a year from now, 3 years from now, decide they're going to widen that whole thing to a 4-lane road. They will rip out all that work at their own expense and construct it as it needs to be done at that time.
Essentially the same thing that happened just west of there.
Correct.
I don't know what that development's called, but I was part of, I remember it, so.
Mhm.
Okay. There was a third thing that I wanted to note.
I'll emphasize, and Cheryl mentioned it,
Utilities.
that there is the traffic signal
Yeah.
with the northern part of Hartrick Bluff. That is funded. That is going to be construction come this fall. So that will include the traffic signal that we know is needed. The signal was approved a while ago, and then we had to work through getting right of way and utility relocations in place where we could fund or start the construction of that project, but it is funded.
I have no further. Okay. Anybody else, sir? Okay. This case requires a public hearing. We will now open the public hearing. If you wish to speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium. Please, if you can, I can either read off the names that have signed up, or we can have everybody just line up like civilized people. If you're viewing the meeting online, please virtually raise your hand. Provide your full name and city of residence for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We should have a clock going when you start speaking. That'll kind of give us an indication of where it is. Would you all like me to call people as they're signed up?
Call the names.
Make it easier? All right. First person I've signed up is Miss Kimberly Vaughn. All right. You rolled the dice today? Please state your city of residence and full name, please.
Over here.
Just city of residence. Yeah.
Here?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kimberly Vaughn, Temple, Texas. We're transplants to the area, my husband and I, so we love it here. We're newly relocated about 7-8 years ago. So thank you for everything you do, to make it a lovely place to live. I know it's a lot of hard work. It's nice to meet some of our neighbors tonight too. So we may have a slightly different perspective, not having been long-term Temple residents. From what I'm hearing, I'm definitely very concerned about the traffic flow. I'm concerned about the water supply where we live. We already have water pressure issues. There have been some new developments farther south down Hartrick Bluff that are more smaller lot size and very maybe dense is the proper term, residential. So we've had some water pressure issues even, since then. So I'm concerned about that. I have some other basic concerns such as the lighting on any kind of multifamily apartment, street lighting or retail. The trash receptacles, how will the dumpsters be handled when it's a multifamily and apartment complex like that? You have trash pickup issues. Just the trash pickup itself is very loud. A lot of dumpsters can cause nuisances and attract animals. Retail area, music or speaker systems can be a problem. And again, how will that lighting be controlled? Another general issue I had is when I look at the comprehensive plan, the 2020 to 2025 for City of Temple, I wonder how this development actually fits in with the goals of that as far as, in the ETJ, the large or acre or more size residential home site. It doesn't seem like this particular development really fits that. Now, the ETJ is sometimes not as detailed in the comprehensive plan as maybe inside the city limits. So I hope that we're not being slightly, discriminated against, that it wasn't more clear. Let me watch the clock. Also, just making sure the nature of that future development is consistent with that comprehensive plan. And then just a little bit of background, what had happened to us in the prior city we lived in. We had a development move in near our home like this. We came to the public meetings, we spoke out, we tried to make our voice be heard, and we were reassured there wouldn't be any of these problems. 5 or 6 or 8 years later, when the zoning people were gone and we were dealing with the land management entity, we had noise issues, we had trash bin issues, we had lighting issues. We could hear the speaker systems from the retail when we were in our home with the windows and the doors closed. So just throwing that out there, we've kind of lived this where we relocated from, and it was not successful. We were not well pleased. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Cheryl, we have Public Works here, correct?
Yeah, Richard Wilson's our city engineer.
Mr. Wilson, at some point, maybe after everybody's spoken, would you be willing to possibly come up and address some of the potential issues if you feel you can answer those?
Yes, sir. I'll be glad.
Okay, thank you.
Before the next speaker, that label that you're asking about, that red dot, that's also a 10,000 average cars per day. Yeah.
Next up, I have Mr. Charles Cole. Please state your name and city of residence for the record. And you.
Yeah, Charles Cole, 7575 Boutwell East Lane, Temple, Texas, to go along with your traffic thing you were looking at. That was done before the 1,200 houses were proposed on down on Hartrick Ranch. So down Hartrick Bluff Road is backed up every day, all day long with traffic, just to cover that. Anyway, I'm not opposed to development in Temple, but we've got some real concerns here with this development as it's proposed. The area has always been zoned agriculture, as they said. In the 2020 development plan, it's supposed to be rural estate, which is larger lots. To me, that means 1 to 5 acre type lots, not 50-foot lots in SF1. We don't agree with that at all in any form or fashion. And I don't see anything saying anything that this is supposed to have apartments and townhomes in this area. It's not stated anywhere in the 2020 development plan. Then getting on to some real issues here, that's real, but this is another one, drainage issues. We currently have drainage issues at the landing at Heritage Oaks that was approved by the city of Temple, not approved by Bell County. It's causing flooding on Boutwell East Lane, and lawsuits are pending. This development, if it's proposed like it is, it's going to go into some of those ravines. There's no way it can't. And then it will cause more flooding downstream on the people down there. So that's a big issue, and that needs to be addressed in entirety by Mr. Turley and his associates. Back to the traffic issues, as everybody said, FM 93 cannot handle the traffic. It's not going to be widened anytime soon by the state. So the developer will bear the cost of all this, and it needs to be done properly. And to go on with Hartrick Bluff Road, I did a job to move all the some of the utilities out there about 1.5 years to 2 years ago on the north side, and it still hasn't been done. So when you're talking about plans that are 30% in development, it's going to be years down the road before that gets done. So that's not something that's going to happen very quick. This development, if you approve it as it's proposed, would significantly devalue our existing properties on Boutwell East, Hartrick Bluff Road, Troyan Lane, along FM 93 and Morgan Drive. And that's a major concern. If you start devaluing properties, there will be other issues. Going along, since I'm kind of engineering, due to the sewer issues, they can get sewer and tie in. Shouldn't be a problem. They have to build lift stations and stuff. I understand that. But water issues, the city doesn't have enough infrastructure at this time to support what they're trying to start. So I would think you would want to table this motion until something on that could happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we'll call Mr. Stephen Thompson,
Can I defer to a later time?
if you would like. Yes, sir. Next will be Mr. Drew Gray.
Item 6.
Oh, you are. I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay. Next, Randy Ramsey.
Randy Ramsey. I'm an adjacent property owner to the tract that's under discussion today.
Can you say your city and state residency? Sorry.
Yeah, Temple, Texas.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, ETJ adjacent property to the tract. And that took 15 seconds for me to answer that. So I may want it back. Commissioners, this is a planned development with multiple issues that cause me great concern. I have 40+ years in development of properties and financing of same. There are already drainage issues based on the topography of this large parcel as the water flows east and west. Even with small rains, the nature of the property being caliche on the permeable surface, it takes very little rain to cause extensive flooding. And it's already been mentioned that there is at least one lawsuit pending because of this drainage coming off of the same site. And the property on Troy Ann Lane that had a detention pond approved instead of a retention pond by the zoning commission, y'all. And so the water that's coming off of this hill that's part of this 200 acres is not retained, it's just detained for about 5 seconds before it floods out all the neighborhoods to the west. So the density unit of the dwelling units that are being proposed here and the impervious cover that will come with the parking lots for this sort of stuff and the rooftops is significant, and flooding from normal rain, much less the terrible weather patterns that we're having in the last few years. Water will be, it will cause significant damage and devaluation of properties. The other major issue is the traffic on 93 is already, it's way more than 10,000. I know the study showed 10,000. It's way more than that. And with the construction of I-14 that's already in the plans and that everyone knows about, Google Maps is already diverting traffic as a shortcut from I-14 back to 36 to go to Houston and on down that way. And the 18-wheeler traffic on 93 today is terrible. We're going to add 600 additional vehicles times 2 per dwelling. It will be intolerable. And I don't think there are enough entrances that TxDOT will allow into this parcel. And I urge you to not approve the request. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Mr. Sam Guthrie.
I think I'll pass right now. They've already made all the points.
Okay. Next is Ed Whittle.
Same, everybody.
Same. I appreciate everybody for, I don't have any new points. Chafin
Wegner.
Wegner? Okay,
Yep.
sorry. Didn't see if that was a N or a.
That's all right. Chafin Wagner, Temple, Texas. I live on Troy and Lane. I also own 2 properties on Fifth Street as well. Planning to continue to build and do things in that area. I'm a State Farm agent, so my office is there. I'm actually incentivized for more homes and construction on this side of town, right? Like my office is the only one closest to Cameron and closest to Academy, and all of that coming in comes to my office. So not to overshare, but to give you a concept that I'm actually for development on that side of town. But I wholeheartedly agree with what's already been said. Again, not to overshare the water issues or the drainage issues. We've had 4 busted pipes from construction already where my house has been without water for days, typically a day, sometimes 18 hours, something like that. So more construction, obviously that's a potential issue. The drainage, I have water that comes from that hill down into my backyard, and I've had algae grow on top of the grass because it's so wet for so many days. Algae and mold don't happen overnight, right? It takes time to set in, and I'm already having drainage issues. My other big concern is I just don't understand how this fits into any of the plans or any of the other developments that have gone in over here other than the one on Hartrick Bluff Road. Especially the multifamily. We're not really seeing that anywhere else in that area. I think there are certainly reasonable compromises for the development. I think something like 1 acre or 0.75 acre lots. I think single family homes or maximum 2 stories. I think we can be reasonable with having development in Temple and also not create more issues on what we're already dealing with. The traffic's another big concern. I come down that road literally at least twice a day, right? My office is on Fifth Street. I come off of Troy and Lane. I'm driving through that intersection on a regular basis. I've actually had to start taking Waters Dairy over to 31st Street, come down and turn left and come up 93 so that I can turn right into my neighborhood, because there's been several instances where I've almost been hit by people driving 50, 60, 70 miles per hour on that road. I've told my wife to do the same, especially with the kids in the car. I don't want my family to die from an accident, and I see those happen daily with claims. Okay, not necessarily fatalities, but claims happening all the time because people aren't paying attention. So I would certainly stress multiple entrances. I think the city's more than fair with at least 4 entrances if they're going to develop that heavily. I think that it's also fair to ask for them to widen that street, widen the access considerably. I would say to quite a degree to prevent further accidents there. And I also just don't understand the utility concept and the thinking that we're gonna, say gun ho, go at it, and the development's not there for us to even fund all of this. It doesn't make sense to me.
Next up, I have Matt and Maddie Liston. Point's been made. All right, thank you. Next up is Chris Hodges. Please state your full name, city of residence, and limit comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yep, we got it.
Christopher Hodges, Temple, Texas. So I recently just put in subdivision right here, Friars Bend on Highway 93 and close to 31st Street. I had to expand Highway 93 to accommodate the entrance. This is traffic about 45 minutes ago on Highway 93. I'm sitting on 31st Street, just to give you a taste. And that's without any of this development. So I'm not against development. I'm against the multifamily. I think this town needs more homes to accommodate more people. I just think the density of multifamily is going to kill the area. And it definitely wouldn't recommend it until we expand Highway 93, and you're going to have to work out the water issues. All my other points were taken, so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Next, I have Colonel Jim Brady. Sure.
I'm Jim Brady, U.S. Army retired. I live off of Hartrick Bluff right next to Chris. He built my house. And I disagree as well. We moved here in 2010. I was stationed there at Fort Hood. We lived in the historic district, the big 3-story red brick house on North and 9th. And after 9 years, We retired. We decided to stay in Temple because it's a beautiful place. We love Temple. But the historic district was just getting bad. Our neighbors shot someone in their yard across the street who was trying to break in our house. And we had people walking in our yard, all this kind of stuff. So we actually, we retired, we reached out to Chris, bought the land and had the house built so we'd be away from that in a nice area. And so this is going to destroy all that. And I agree with everything everyone said. The traffic's horrendous. I live about a half a mile from 93, and in the afternoons, in the mornings, the cars are piled up past my house waiting to get on the 93 because there's so much traffic down there. Water pressure is low. So yeah, I would just disagree. I think something better could be used. And I would suggest turning this into a park, having exercise trails, 125 acres. You could probably put 10 miles of hiking, biking trails. There's elevation change, there's a river, there's creeks, something better that would enhance the area than just 8,000 homes. Thank you.
And lastly, I have Ms. Kayla Landeros. Please state your full name and city and state of residence.
Hi, I'm Kayla Landeros. I'm here with my husband, Chris. We're at 7456 Hartrick Bluff Road. If you've ever turned onto 93 and thought, who were the people that bought this property at the corner of 93 and Hartrick Bluff Road, that's us. So we're right at the corner, a little bit in the city limits. All right, I'm an attorney. I was city attorney here in Temple for 5 years and worked with the city for 7 years. I represent developers in private practice. So I am pro-development, but not this one. And I want to provide some additional context in addition to what everyone has said here as well. So I didn't realize we were only going to have 3 minutes, and that's my fault. So we're going to run through this. The first couple of slides that I had here were really focused on the comp plan. So we heard from Cheryl that, and we've seen from looking at the plan that this was designated rural estate. And I think the main thing that I wanted to point out here, Cheryl, if you go to the fourth slide, the statement has been made that the boundaries in this future development plan can shift. And we've looked at the comp plan. These are high level designations and characteristics for these properties. So we know that the detail is not there in that comp plan. What I do want to point out, though, is Texas Local Government Code Section 211.004 states that zoning regulations must be adopted in accordance with a comprehensive plan and designed to achieve those goals that you see there. If you go to the next slide, I really want to, I think the goals in that list that you see from the local government code for this specific development are concerns that I have listed here and what we've heard tonight. So street roadway congestion, overcrowding of land, undue concentration of population, and inadequate infrastructure. So the next slide that I had is a zoom out of the comp plan. You can see the red star is the subject property. The circles that you see are recent developments that have been approved in the last, let's say, 5 years. There's 2 kind of down 93, and then 3, of course, that we know about on Hartrick Bluff. So if you go to the next slide, there's some additional detail on each of those, but I'm trying to give context on numbers here, right? So we have shared with you what we see as citizens of this area, but numbers based on what has been approved by planning and zoning and city council. You have Leon Reserve, which is the north side of 93, that was approved. The preliminary plat was approved very recently. That's an estimated 386 lots. It's a PDSF2. South of that, you have a development. I couldn't find a name for it yet. It was recently annexed. It's about 145 acres. There's an additional 20 acres. You can go back. No, you're good. One more. But that property, oh, keep going up. Slide 7. Okay, sorry.
Oh, go back. Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
yes, ma'am. Thank you. So that development on the south of 93 that you see that abuts Old Highway 95 is a PD, kind of similar to what we're looking at tonight, SF3, GR, MF2, townhome. That includes also 20 acres that TISD has purchased for a future school site. Just the excluding the multifamily, the developer has said that's 350 new dwellings. You can see the subject property there on the other side of the screen, max development, almost 1,400 dwelling units. So next slide down is those 3 developments on Hartrick Bluff. I'm going really quickly. You've got essentially 1,100 potential lots there on Hartrick Bluff over those 3 developments. And so you can go to the next slide, Cheryl. And so all of that to say, if we put this all in context, right? You've got 5 developments that have recently been annexed and approved. They're in various stages of rezoning to platting. Approximately 1,100 of those, and it could be more. I did very simple math and estimated 3 dwellings per acre, but 1,100 south of 93 on Hartrick Bluff. We have heard tonight that 30% design is proposed to be funded in the new FY25 budget. That was just posted on Friday, has to go through the approval process. You are still 3 to 5 years away from seeing construction on that phase of Hartrick Bluff, and that is assuming that it continues to be funded in future years. In context, the north side of Hartrick Bluff, I think 30% design was funded in 2019. They are just going out for bids in fall of 2024. So we've got 1,100 lots proposed there, but through those 5 developments, it's 1,800 lots, over 615 acres. In context, this is 123 acres and almost 1,400 dwellings. It's the math doesn't work. It's too much. It's too dense for that property. And this is the only, I love the city planning staff. They are incredible. The only thing I can disagree with them on is you got to stick with your comp plan on this. The surrounding developments support rural estate. And I get that it was in the ETJ, but other properties that you see on the comp plan are in the ETJ or were, and they were designated other classifications. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you.
I have one thing I have to say. Please step forward and repeat the process. You get.
I'll be quick. I don't need 3 minutes. Charles Cole, Temple, Texas again. The proposed collector street is supposed to come out on Hartrick Bluff Road. The folks don't even own the property and they're proposing a road there. I've got a real issue with that. That's all I want to say.
You're well, yeah, I can go all day. So
Yeah, so I have a question. Maybe you can help clear this up for me. So it's proposed by maximizing the percentage of development that there could potentially be, by math, 1,386 dwelling units. However, limiting on the only 2 entrances that they could possibly have guaranteed right now via the text dot would limit them immediately to 300. They're assuming that they can obtain private property to add an additional entrance that would allow up to 450 and would have to obtain another private entrance. So right now they are literally limited to 300. Is that correct?
That's correct. Cheryl, do you want to, or do you want me to?
Go ahead. You're
Okay, so this is something that staff has spent a lot of time thinking about is, and I'll say this to quantify or qualify what I'm about to say. And JD and I, we talk about traffic and what's reasonable. Y'all laughing because you know I'm telling the truth. Is we hear this a lot. This development is going to ruin the neighborhood. It's going to be too much traffic. It's going to be too dangerous. Fill in the blank for all the objections. I don't always agree with those objections. In this case, I am leaning towards that side of the seesaw. Staff shares those same concerns about the volume of traffic that this could theoretically add if they get all the connections. So you pointed out the 300 dwelling unit limit. You're familiar with our subdivision entry standards. Cheryl had them on the, if you want to go back, Cheryl, to the slide where you've got broken down. So for those that don't know, you've got standard or enhanced entrances. One standard gets you 75. An enhanced gets you 150. Two enhanced gets you 300. Three enhanced gets you over 300 with no cap. And there's a reason for that, because a development of that scale will usually run into our thoroughfare plan. So it then stops becoming about the specific number of entrances and turns into, you're going to build me a collector, you're going to build me another local street, you're going to build something that will allow the people in those cars to make choices about which direction they want to travel. In this case, there is not a thoroughfare alignment that runs through this property. So that's where staff came to that condition of saying the two entrances is 300. What do we do next? What's reasonable? So what we did was extrapolate that ratio. So if they can find a way to make a third entrance, we're not saying that third entrance has to be on Hartrick Bluff. The applicant has proposed that. That conceivably could get them to the 450. So we're not going to give them a free pass over 300. We're going to apply that first cap. If they can find a way to make a fourth entrance, could go any number of ways, depending on how much money they want to spend building bridges and acquiring property. They could go up to 4 entrances. And if they do, then this ordinance, if you approve it, would allow them up to 600, and that's a firm cap. So there's the theoretical what the density could allow, regardless of whether it's single family or multifamily. This is going to provide that firm cap. The applicant's going to have to figure out how do they want to distribute that mix of dwelling units under that 600 unit cap. So that was a bit of a long-winded explanation. I've been kind of anticipating the question, but have I answered your question, sir?
Yes, I think it's reassuring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any kind of proposed plat?
You want to come on up?
I just have, is there any kind of proposed plat or anything to fit that many units?
So at this point in time, we don't have a subdivision plat. That would follow unapproved rezoning. If this commission.
But that's the
and-
next step, once they
Yeah.
get this and this
I mean,
gets
I hiked
approved.
around back there a lot, and the elevation changes, so.
Mhm.
and
So
like
my-
I said, the water, like, I don't even know how you fit that.
Sir, if you're gonna, if you want to
Sorry,
talk,
go
please
ahead.
come on up. It's not that I want you to be the focus of attention. That way we get your comments on the record.
Well, I don't know if I'm CJ Runke. I live on Tryon Lane in Temple, Texas, and I don't know if whoever's here that owns that land now, but if you saw my picture on your deer camera, I'm sorry. But I've hiked around back there a lot, and I mean, there's so much elevation change that I don't even know how that makes sense. How you could even plat out to fit that many homes, much less the drainage and all the things to make it all make sense for everybody downhill. And so that's.
And I do want to point out too, the applicant's engineer is here and the applicant is online, but just the mix, there's maximums and there's minimums. I mean, they could choose to do 600 dwelling units in multifamily, which is 25% of the property, and then 75% is undeveloped. I mean, so there's options there how they choose to develop it, but the 600 cap is it. I mean, they can't do more than 600, or they could do single family homes over the entire property.
So that's one of my questions, given the fact of the comp plan. So I finally broke it out after it's been sitting on my desk for years now. And it says urban estates. And if you look at everything around there, it's either urban estates or SF1. And those SF1 seem to be like somewhat larger properties. I've voiced my concern multiple occasions 2 weeks ago on FM 93 traffic. How, I'm going to say this, pointing the finger, how is the city justifying multifamily in SF3 for this area when it clearly doesn't meet the standards? And then the follow on to that is, I assume this is TISD.
Oh, it's an academy.
So of course they want it. Okay. All right.
Okay. Again, on the comp plan, I mean, this was done in 2020. No one knew exactly what was going to happen, 4 or 5, 10 years from now. We've done this before where, okay, yeah, this is the general plan, but it's close. You got residential neighborhood service next door. You've got that mixed use activity center. It's basically just shifting it over. And I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do, but there is a basis to approve the zoning based upon the comp plan. It's not to the letter, but the plan's never to the letter. I mean,
No, I know. I drove it today before coming here and that stretch of road to Hartrick Bluff and then given, the hunters, like you see the trajectory of that land or where it goes and then the neighboring districts. Doesn't make sense.
Back there now, because I hear it. It's right on my back door.
And
I hear it in there all the time.
it's probably what is it, Troyan Lane? They're still working back there, maybe. Or where are you at, sir?
I'm on Sand Lake. I'm backed up to it.
Oh, you're right there. Could you-
It's 48.
Can you please come to the stand, sir? Just so we get your info. Full name and city of residence.
My name's Melissa Kelso. I live at 7118% Lane, right off 93. And where I'm located on the map here,
that's right there.
yeah, so I should be 48 or 47 on your map. But I hear people working back there all the time, hearing big trucks back there. So I don't know what's going on back there now.
We hear the same thing. Yeah.
Do y'all?
Can you go to the topography map? Cheryl, please.
No.
Because looks like an access road of sorts back there. Maybe.
But I hear people back in there sound like they're partying at night. And this is at 10 o'clock at night.
That would me.
No, you're in front of me you're on the east side. I'm talking the west. That's the back side of me where all this land is.
A pointer, but there's an access road. I don't know what's there. I mean, unless Public Works has.
That's just an old.
It's a trail.
Just a trail that goes down through.
It's a big road through there. I put my golf cart back there.
Because there's an entrance there.
Yeah.
There's an entrance in the picture here.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. If you'd like to speak, please come to the podium. Name and city of residence for record.
Ed Whittle, and I live on Waltwell Lane, Temple, Texas. And I hear all this talk about we're gonna put an entrance and we're gonna widen it, we're gonna have a lane to accelerate and all this, and you just put one in on your area that's just south of us. Well, it doesn't go to Botwell, but also that's not the problem. You could put all these entrances and lanes and all this to get on 93 in Hartrick Bluff. It ain't gonna work. When I came here today, I had one option to turn right because the traffic was backed up from the highway. I work at Garland Shelton. I go down that road and I've sat there sometimes with 93 backed up to the paper, almost a mile. That's not gonna change. How is that gonna change with an entrance and an exit and widen the lane where you come in and come out? That will not change. That traffic is unbelievable, and it's gonna get worse because all these developments haven't finished building, whether it's on Hartrick or 93.
Okay. Is there anybody else in person that would like to speak?
You know what? I got one thing to say.
Bob, name and city of residence, please.
Robert Adair, Troy Ann Lane in Temple. I live just to the west of this. I'm a 21-year retired police officer. I've dealt with a lot of crime prevention. When you have high density, you're going to get a lot of renters in there. And with renters comes crime. Many of us had moved to this area to get away from it. And I think it's gonna follow us if you develop that. Temple PD has a crime prevention unit where they do stats. And it may be worth talking to them.
Thanks, sir. Okay. Oh. Sorry. I apologize. Heard a lot of people. Name and state of.
Stephen Thompson, I'm number 20. I'm the 18 acres on Hartrick that back up to it. And I just want to echo, kind of summarize what I've heard from everyone. We're not against expansion and development. I mean, I moved here in 84, so I was about third, fourth grade. I've seen West Temple expansion. I've seen South Temple. I remember driving to Taylor's Valley and we're like, let's get out of the town, you know, but it's come. My wife and I used to live on Olympia. We moved out into the country. You know, we look out and I'm like, one day all this is going to be built up, but that's why I have 18 and it's non-plat. So we're staying there. It's our country. And I've always told people, if you don't want something built across the street from you or behind you, you better buy it. Somebody else is going to do it. But like everyone else has said, it's the type of growth that we're doing. You know, I've seen the West Temple, I've seen the South. What hurts me the most is I went to Temple High, I went to Bonham, I went to Cater, and to see all the development out of TISD to Academy, to Rogers, like, why can TISD not grow? And it's because we have this stuff that comes in and we stick as many people as we possibly can in a small area. And I go back to what you said about the character of this part of South Temple. It does have its own character. It is forest, it's open space, and, you know, conserving trees, the open space, it's a peaceful place to live. I mean, everybody knows everybody. I mean, I've met most of them here today. Hadn't talked to them, and we moved in 19, so we've been there 5 years, and a lot's happened. But to see something of this magnitude come in with this many people, and I'll go back about 2017, 2018, I had the chance to move my company out of Temple. We built a brand new warehouse on Industrial Boulevard. I met with EDC, some other, I think Danny was the mayor, met with them, great people, love Temple. And when we ultimately decided to build here, people said, why didn't you go to South Lake? And we have another office up in Dallas Fort Worth area. Why didn't you go to South Lake? Be much happier up there. I go, Temple's home. This is where I've lived. And there's great people, great leaders, and just people running the city. But when I see this kind of stuff coming down the pipe, it blows my mind that we would approve something with all of the contingents on there. It's unbelievable. I didn't even realize all of that was there. And then when Miss Landeros got up, I was like, oh, she can have my 3 minutes. Because I mean, it was a culmination of what all of us feel. But man, that's all. But the other thing, I know y'all don't like to talk about appraised values and land value and everything, but I pulled 24 all around, and the average just on tax appraisal district is 902,000. Of all of those, you got several million, you got almost a 3 million, and all that's going to back up to apartment, general retail, multifamily, 50-foot lot. So that's all.
Thank you, sir. That's fine. We got. Okay, and then is there going to be anybody else that's going to want to speak? Because I'd like to get the developer up here, because we have a rep from them, and then potentially the city public works as well to answer some their side on what's coming up.
I'm David Habman, live on Morgan Drive in Temple. I've been on Morgan Drive for over 40 years. And that piece of property I've been on many times over the years. It's a very unique piece of property. It has some of the topography that's very interesting. And I always thought this is going to be a wonderful place for single family development. The Morgans owned it for many years, and Sherry and her brother own it. I guess still now, maybe it's been sold. But anyway, it is a unique piece of property. There's nothing else like it in the area or even in South Temple. And there's very little like it in all of Bell County, as far as I know. So somebody mentioned a park. This would be a wonderful place for a park. It'd be a wonderful place for some single family dwellings and a park, and with maybe some commercial on the main road, if you can handle the traffic. That's all I have to say, but I thought everybody was very thoughtful in their comments, and I really appreciate the committee looking at this.
Thanks, sir. Ask the developer to come up, please. State your full name and I guess city and state of residence.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm sorry, guys, can you hear me?
Also, they're on too.
Will, we can hear you.
Oh, very well. Very well. I was just going to figure out if connection as well. Well, my name is Michael Pritzker. I'm one of the 3 applicants here. And I really appreciate the comments. Just wanted to let you know that we put a lot of effort into building something decent over here in terms of our idea and our vision. We had a lot of conversation internally and with our consultants like John Burns, like Turley Associates, with a lot of brokers. And of course, we had like, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 iterations with the city, like bringing different options on the table and discussing the aspects that everybody mentioned over here. So first of all, yeah, I'd like to give you a little kind of overview and a story here. So initially, there was like 3 entrances and 300 plus density. We don't hunt for density precisely over here because density is not the goal per se. The goal is to build a robust and balanced product that would benefit everybody, us, community, and market. And internally, we were kind of happy with putting a 600 units cap over here, regardless of the number of entrances. And I don't know if we'll be able to get a 4th one, so most likely it's going to be 450. Now, when are we going to do this, and is it possible right now? So far, beginning day 1, the city was very cautious with your existing resources, and especially with the water that was available for us. And, you know, thinking about the pressure, thinking about everything that you mentioned, we came to conclusion, city came to conclusion, we kind of agreed to that 150 units would be, the water to develop 150 units would be available right away. And the remaining will be available on the go as soon as the pipes will, you know, increase their path through. 150 units of single family or around 250, I think, multifamily units. So building the product and assuming that the cap density is about like 450 in reality, maybe 600, maybe, but 450 as of now, I would say. That would take us about, I don't know, for 5 to 7 years, even to start, you know, thinking about phase 2, which is going to be after this phase 1. Because we heard that the excess capacity might be available for around 2029 and later down the road. So far, effectively, we were talking about the product, which would be like 150 single family homes or maybe 250 multifamily units. And assuming the overall acreage, the effective density is like super low. So if we wouldn't have these limitations, we could build, I don't know, 1,000 multifamily units over there. Technically, the territory allows us to do that, but we're not after that. We want to have a balanced, nice community where no noise, no, you know, behavioral things are actually exposed to everybody. So having said that, 250 multifamily units will be spread over, and assuming the landscape and topo of the site, they're going to be nicely located towards one another, basically assuming especially the setbacks from existing residences, it would nicely feed the local area. So the next potential phase would be built to rent, which are townhomes that effectively would also serve a little different category of renters that might want to, catch up with the area, who want to live there. Again, that would be way later. Maybe on the first phase, there will be a little mix of both products, maybe, which I just don't know. So we're not hunting for density as of now. We have limited resources on the water. We have a lot of territory that would allow us to create a nice and good looking community over there, assuming we have only 2 stories for multifamily. Speaking about the public areas and so on, there is a little creek going down this land plot, yeah? And we agreed with the city that we'll build a trail, which is kind of obvious that people want to take a hike over there. It's a nice, good looking area. We were there by ourselves and exploring it. That would serve to the benefit of our neighbors and everybody, so that people can walk and enjoy the beautiful nature of this site. And yeah, thank you. And where CF SF2, they're going to be single family homes, basically with a pretty substantial acreages, I would say. They will be a little far away from SFA3 and multifamily 2, and that's probably going to be the last phase of the development. So we're not going to build everything right away and hurt an existing environment and expectations. So speaking about the traffic, FM 93 at this particular place has a pretty low daily traffic. I would probably be surprising, but John Burns did this research for us. We saw like about 600 cars a day. I'm not sure if it's much or not for you guys. I'm just saying from the developer perspective, this is 600 cars a day, which is way less than the street has before it turns left to or right to 31st Street. So this number of cars a day barely justifies having a retail over there, and assuming that we have an easement for the gas pipe right in the frontage of us. So hopefully we'll collaborate with the city and do these turns and everything to kind of avoid some jams. But generally speaking, this particular place, and I've been there multiple times and I trust your opinion, but developer wise, it's not super dense. So that being said, I would turn the speech to Turley Associates. They can probably address the drainage and flooding issue, but we'll be thoughtful about that definitely, because we don't need that to happen to hurt everybody. And of course, we're going to be taking care of this from a detention perspective and drainage as well. So Kendall, maybe you can take a speech over here, and then my partner David and Vitaly can add something if we want to. But in general, we want to keep the development balanced over here and aligning with the city perspective.
Hi, Kendall Wimberly. I'm with Turley Associates, representing the developer. Appreciate everybody coming out tonight. It's good to live in a community where the community cares about what's going on. I'll just address a few, I guess, Michael wanted me to address a few of the drainage problems. So we'll go with, I mean, there is drainage issues going down into that subdivision to the east of us. But we will be, to the west. Yeah, correct. We'll be, I mean, we'll have to address that whenever we get to the actual planning stage. We don't have a real site plan right now. It's all in the preliminary stages. Water and sewer, as Michael was saying, we are limited to 150 units right now. With the current water, we're actually having to upgrade a lot of lines just to get that 150 units. We're doing a 12-inch line all the way across, all the way down FM 93 to get that 150. So it should improve also the regional area in that area. Sewer, we're just tying on, and the city said we had capacity there, so we're going there. Environmental impacts. I mean, there will be trees lost during our construction, but I mean, the developer does plan to keep it very natural, parky, with densifying the multifamily and leaving big park areas, kind of how the city plan also suggests in those multifamily areas. And economic benefits that we can go through. the tax revenue from all these different types of housing. It gives housing opportunities for lower income, higher income with the bigger lots and the smaller lots. I mean, that's basically all I'm going to say. I'll defer the rest of this to David and Vitaly if they want to speak on it.
Hi, everyone. This is David. I will try to be really short. I understand concerns that we got from, I hope, our potential neighbors. I share them. It's quite obvious. But anyway, we need to understand that, I'm talking about myself. I need to understand that we live in the real world. And it's a little bit different from our dreams. That our neighbors, you have some values, goals. It's great. Again, I live in my own home in Austin, in the area like this one. I share it. At the same time, there is the city with its own development plan, budget, need for new tenants to live some there. And as we know, affordability right now, I'm not talking about low income, because if you ask me, David, what was part of your business? I was investing in multifamily, and I still own with my partners 4 multifamily properties in Houston, each of them located in the area with average household income 120,000 plus. Let's say it's almost double if we compare with the area that surrounds our land plot. So multifamily could be different. It could be built in the area with, let's say, 50,000 average household income. It could be built in the area with 120,000 household income. But majority of American citizens, they couldn't afford buying those 900 value homes. They couldn't do it. They need to live some there. And that is why my personal prediction is that with the new president, regardless who will it be, we will have a lot of programs in order to make housing more affordable for American citizens. And to me, what does it mean? It means that in one way or another, city, while developing, they should be paying attention to some housing that should be for rent. Are we talking about single family homes? Are we talking about townhomes, multifamily? But it just becomes unavoidable because housing became so expensive that there is just one way how to build, how to develop. It means to find people like us and see how could it work, this art of compromise. From one side, our neighbors, and we should pay really high attention to your needs. At the same time, what's very important, it's plans and development of the city with all the taxes that they need in order to develop, in order to be able to pay for water, sewer, in order to grow. And at the same time, it's quite obvious, in order to invest, in order to build, we need to bring our investors money. That is why building, let's say, on 1, 2, 5 acres lots right now, it almost doesn't work. It just financially doesn't work. It's a great area, I agree. Great neighbors. But at the same time, do we want it or don't? Housing will be changing in the whole country. We will see more and more houses on smaller land plots, more and more tiny homes. There is no another way how to afford, how to give shelters to all the American citizens. And will it happen here or in another place? It's rather up to you, your decisions, your opinions, and up to the city. If city decides that we don't deserve or our plans, they don't match city plans for the development, okay, we will accept it. We already spent more than 150,000 just in order to prepare for all those meetings. But we are fine. We are in this business. We are ready. But anyway, I guess that it's city who will decide, and for all of us, for you, dear, I hope, future neighbors, it's the art of compromise, what we could accept and what we couldn't. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
What was his name?
David. My name is David. David.
Okay.
And by the way, what do we have, all of us, in common? All three of us, we are Chicago graduates. We graduated from Chicago School of Business. Three of us, we got our executive MBA degrees there. So that is why I said everything. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Who can we have the Public Works come up and address some of the concerns if they can address them, and then we'll do a limited back to people. This has gone long.
Well, I don't know where to start. There was a lot thrown on the wall and some of it sticks. I'm Richard Wilson. I'm the city engineer. There are a few things that I do want to address, and I do realize there's an issue with the design and construction of a subdivision to the east that's affecting Boutwell East. You know, there's litigation, so that's all I'm going to say about that one. The engineers on this is a different set of engineers, different contractors for the most part, and different developers. You may or may not know, but the city reviews plans for general conformance with the specifications. We don't go back and run all the calcs. We don't try to do what it took them a year to do in 10 days and pass this through. So we rely on that seal by that engineer, and we rely on that contractor to build it per the plans. So I'll just move on from there. As far as drainage on this, there will need to be a comprehensive drainage plan because it is complicated. There's probably 30 acres of this site that drains to the west, and it's right along their backyards.
Right into my backyard.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. So when you first look at this site and you see all those ravines, you say, well, everything goes to the east and south. And that's actually the easy part. The hard part is what are they going to do about that water that does go to the west, and how to control that, because there's going to be more runoff, and it's got to be controlled and released at the same rate that it is now. Well, with respect to the road, yeah, it's TxDOT.
Easy answer.
Yeah. So from Hartrick Bluff, from Waters Dairy to 93 has been designed. We've been waiting on utilities to relocate and get out of the way, the franchise utilities. And that intersection will have a signal with turn lanes on every leg, so there will be some relief. If you're close, sometimes if you're on a busy road, if you're close to that traffic signal, it actually helps. Because that's the only way I can get out on West Adams when I go to Popeyes to get a chicken sandwich. I got to wait for that light to turn red and stop everybody so I can scoot out. So there is some relief, and those turn lanes, take some distance to build, so it does, increase the 3 lanes for some time. And I don't know, we haven't seen a design for the turn lanes off of 93 for this development, but it's entirely possible they could stretch all the way to the intersection if you combine it with our plans. Yeah. And on the water side, we had our consultant model the system to see if any homes could be built on this site without affecting some of the other sites. And it's in the past, we've had some other developers come in and want to build, say, on, old 95, and we've told them, no, there's no water. Right. And how can there be water here? Well, it's like everything else. It's location, and where our facilities are and how it impacts the area. So the model showed we could safely assess about 100 or assure 150 units, ERCs for this site, while looking at some of those other sites and estimating 50% build out over a time period. So right now we have in design, there's a 12-inch water line coming down Hartrick Bluff with that improvement that replaces a 6-inch line, I think. We have water main from the water treatment plant over to Synergy, which where Panda is. It's a $30 million project that's under design now. And actually one part of it's under construction. And when Mr. Davidenko was talking about, we get 150 now and more later, it's when those are built. It's when that 8-inch is built and when that 36-inch transmission line is built, which is probably 2030, somewhere in that area. So it's going to be limited.
And then, so I'm looking at the utilities, the sewer line, they would have to go under 93 in order to bring it to that property line.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the first lady talked about dumpsters, multifamily. Yeah, there's dumpsters and they bang when they pick them up and set them down. But
It's
yeah.
not so much that, it's the crime. In a high density, low income neighborhood of that size.
We are not talking about low income. I'm very sorry, but we are not talking about low income. Again, my 4 latest deals, all of them located in the areas with household income 120,000 per year. If I'm not wrong, in 3 or 5 miles radius in this area, it's maybe 60 to 70. So there are no words about low income tenants unless city will reach us out and asks, guys, do you want to build something for low income tenants? And then we will talk. But again, this is not our focus. We are not building for those guys. We are rather building or having something for young professionals, for people who are making really, again, what does it mean 120 in average? Some of them 80, some of them 100, some of them 200,000 annually. So low income doesn't exist here again, unless city asks, do we want to consider it? But it looks to me quite obvious that city is not interested on building something for low income tenants in this area. It's a little bit different.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have any new points to make? New points.
Good points.
Can you answer all their questions then, please?
I could.
You're smarter. All
But
right.
I really
Linda.
just 90 seconds. Just the comments from the developer. If density is not the concern, then don't zone to it. Right. So you zone to what you plan to build and what you know what you're going to build. The other thing is to understand that this is the applicant coming in and requesting the rezoning. Chances are that is not the company that's going to build what goes on that site. They're getting the entitlements to go out and shop around to other interest developers. There is nothing wrong with that business plan, but that's the business plan. And thirdly, I just want to say that, remember, staff does have a condition that for the multifamily general retail site plan review would be required. But once you rezone to general retail multifamily, you have accepted all of the uses that are under those 2 categories. A site plan review is only the site, the buildings, where they're going. It's not the uses. So there's no more flexibility on storage buildings, alcoholic beverage sales, restaurant drive-ins. That's done. Last thing, sorry, I just remembered. On June 6th at the city council meeting, city council actually denied a rezoning from general retail to multifamily on about 11 acres at the corner of Canyon Creek and 31st Street. And Councilmember Long, she voiced her concerns. It's District 3, which is where we are. That at the corner of Canyon Creek and 31st Street, two major arterial streets that are built out with existing utilities, that a multifamily development of 224 units was inappropriate there because of traffic concerns and because of density. There's no way that those same concerns do not exist at this site or are heightened at this site. So if City Council was uncomfortable with a multifamily rezoning at the corner of Canyon Creek and 31st Street, I don't see how there would be a comfort level of rezoning to multifamily, single family, and townhomes on 123 acres at this site. That's all I'll say.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you don't mind, let me quickly address that. This is Mikhail Pritzker.
Did
So
she pretty much state what everybody else wanted to state again? Okay. Because we'd like to move on from this.
So may I have a few words here, if you don't mind? This is Michael Pritzker, just a few words. So we're not hunting for density per se, but density gives you a cost allocation per unit. There is a minimum density that is required for any development project as you think about it financially. We're not an altruistic people here. We came here to make business, yeah? And as anybody would state doing this type of work. And if you build 1 unit over there, all land cost allocates towards 1 unit. If you build 450 units, it allocates towards 450 units. And we're actually struggling in terms of putting numbers together because we do have in the foreseeable future only 150 single family or 250 multifamily units. So we have to monetize them somehow in order to repay all the costs for the land and infrastructure and horizontal and so on and so forth. And we're actually postponing a bunch of the proceeds later on down the road. And we choose to do that because we believe kind of in the location and that everything will be developing. But if you say don't apply for density, this is a bit counterintuitive, and I would say it contradicts the nature of the business because you got to have some density to justify the land costs, all your overheads and soft costs. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. That's it.
Yes, sir. Okay. I'm going to make one statement here. Okay. And this is kind of directed at city attorney and city staff. Okay. So this property, from my understanding, was fairly recently annexed into the city. The annexation does not come through this commission at all. So we don't get to ask the questions prior to annexation to understand what this is going through. I'm sure city council does, but it kind of puts us at a predicament because we've had this now annexed. It's now city land or city zone, whatever you want to call it. And then they always want to move forward. So city lawyer, please. I think it would be beneficial for the Planning and Zoning Commission to see and hear annexations for future reference. So some of these concerns can be addressed earlier on in case they're not addressed at city council during annexation. Because I don't know what process they go through for that. Just FYI. Thank you. I'll shut up. One last one, and I'm going to close the public comments.
I went to the annexation.
Please.
Charles Cole, Powell East Lane, Temple, Texas. I went to the annexation meeting and brought up a lot of these points. And Mayor Davis told me to go to the P&Z meeting, that I was more than welcome to come. So here I am. Okay. Well, I'm just saying, that's what he told me. And that's why I brought it up.
Okay.
You know, the other thing is it's rural estate, and that's why I should think it should stay. I understand that 3 other developers have looked at this property to develop it, and it's always been not cost effective to do it. And that's why this is where it's at. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have no objections? I'm going to close the public comments. At this time, there are no more questions or concerns from city staff or the commissioners. I will entertain a motion. I make a motion we disapprove FY-24-28-ZC.
Second.
The motion has been made by myself, Vice Chair McBride, and a second by Commissioner Jeans. Kathy, can we have a vote?
Yes, and the motion is to disapprove. That's what you're voting for. Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Jeans.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney.
Aye.
Vice Chair McBride.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
I
Before
do
we
want
move
to,
on, I appreciate everybody for
excuse me,
coming out.
I do want to
being
note,
involved.
I do want to note that unless the developer withdraws the application, it will still move forward to the city council. That would be July the 18th. They have a recommendation. They're not the approving body. They make a recommendation to the city council. So it'll move to the July 18th meeting, again, unless the developer wishes to withdraw it.
Yes, and just to be clear, the July 18th meeting will have a public hearing. Getting the disapproval here does mean that they need a 4/5 vote at city council. They need a supermajority. It triggers that.
Yeah, the deal that the attorney was talking about, that city council just disapproved on Canyon Creek and 31st. We actually recommended approval on that. So that just shows that city council, they take everything pretty seriously. And so we're just an advisory board. We have no authority on the decisions. So, yeah, so.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. All right. We're gonna move on to item number 6, FY-24-1-WAV. Consider and recommend action on a developer requested exception. Can we please move everything? I'll just talk you outside.
Let's go ahead and wait just a minute for it to clear out a little bit.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We still? Okay. So I can move forward. Okay. Okay. The next item is item number 6, FY-24-1-WAV. Consider and recommend action on a developer requested exception for a reduction in park fee per UDC section 8.3.2. Charlie for a 15.413 plus or minus acre multifamily community known as the Hudson at the Crossroad District, described as the Crossroad District Phase 1, Block 1, Lot 40 in the city of Temple, Texas, addressed as 6611 Abode Avenue. This case will be presented by Principal Planner Cheryl Maxwell.
Okay, thank you. This does require city council approval, so that's scheduled for July 18th. This shows the location of the property. Again, it's just south of the Crossroads Park on Hilliard Road. The property was platted as the Crossroad District Phase 1, and this is the multifamily portion of the property is Block 1, Lot 40. And again, this is the plat showing the lot where the multifamily development is going. The P&Z, just a little bit of history, approved the plat June 21st, 2022. The park fee requirement is $225 per dwelling unit. The fee goes towards improving nearby public parks. Our Unified Development Code allows a fee reduction up to 50% for multifamily developments if the on-site recreational amenities meet the needs of the development. And the fee is typically addressed with the plat. This request for the reduction came after the plat approval. It came like a month later on July 22nd. At that time, the Parks Department supported the request, but there was no formal request that was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission or the City Council. So the development is undergoing construction. The park fee for 265 dwelling units is now due, which totals about $59,625. This is an exhibit showing the layout of the multifamily units. The big block I've got blown up a little bit here so you can see the amenities that are proposed on site. The 50% reduction would be down to $29,812.50. That is the request. The amenities include a clubhouse, the pool, and the dog park, again shown here on this exhibit. Those total about $1.7 million. The request was supported by the Parks Department. And we recommend approval of the 50% reduction in the park fee based on the proposed amenities. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any questions or comments? Okay, So I know this does not require a public hearing,
Correct.
but I did not let
E-
Mr.
Yes, even though this doesn't require a public hearing, since we did promise that we would allow him to speak at this item, if you would go ahead and come up now.
Okay.
I'll be much quicker.
All right. Mr. Gray, please state your full name and city of direct.
Sounds like happy hour out there in the hallway though. Good evening, Commissioners. Drew Gray with Stellar Development Company. We're the, in Lubbock, Texas. And so we're out of town. But happy to be here today to talk about our project here, the Hudson and Crossroads District. This is our second project that we've developed here in Temple over the last 3 years. We also developed the Virtue on Azalea, which is located on Azalea between 31st and 5th Street. We're excited to be delivering this project to help your growing city. As you heard, other developers are trying to build apartments and build things as well because your city has a growing need for housing. And also, I just want to say your staff has been great to work with. We've worked with a lot of them over the last 3 or 4 years. They have a monumental task ahead of them with how much growth your city has had and how small their staff is, frankly. And they've been doing a great job handling that. And so just really appreciate them. My primary reason to be here is really to answer kind of maybe the unique request of the timing. In 2022, we bought this land from John Keela. He ran the plat for the overall development, which you saw a few slides ago, prior to us purchasing that land. And so therefore, we did not get that request in with that plat timing. Also, on our Virtue on Azalea project, we also requested that reduction in impact fees and were successful administratively. I don't believe we ran through the full plat. And so that was just a little new for us. And that was a missed thing for us in the ordinances that we didn't catch. And so apologies for that. And so it really wasn't until a few weeks ago that we were notified that actually this park impact fee had not been even paid. And that's because the invoice was sent, we believe, to John Keela, the original landowner who ran the plat, not us. And so appreciate staff working with us still on the project to kind of allow us to keep moving forward. But really, this is why it came up now and really not any time previously, is because we weren't really made aware of that. As Cheryl notified you, and in the submittal packet that I sent in, we did email someone at the city. I believe her name was Kim, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Kim Mettenbrink. She was currently with the city and she approved that via email to me and said, this is approved. Obviously, that was not the correct way to go. And so that's why we kind of checked that box and just continue to move forward. And so lastly, you can see our project there. Y'all probably driven by it. I'm sure some of y'all, it's probably 60% complete. And we've already had first move-ins. So the amenities are not speculative. They're there. And those costs were our own general contractor as well. And so that's what it did cost us to build that. And so I just also want to reiterate that the approval of this request for the reduction of impact fees for the multifamily portion does not constitute a reduction in impact fees for the rest of the overall development that was platted at that time. And so with that, thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions tonight.
Any questions? Nope. All right. No more questions or comments. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve item FY-24-1-WAV as presented.
Second. All right. Motion has been made by Commissioner Carney and a second by Commissioner Jeans to approve item number 6, FY-24-1-WAV per staff recommendation. Kathy, can we get a vote?
Yes. Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Jeans.
Aye. Commissioner
Carney.
Aye.
Vice Chair McBride.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item number 7, FY-24-34-PLT. Consider and take action on the final plat of Hillside Village Phase 3, a 17.446 plus or minus acre, 94 lot, 6 block residential subdivision, being a replat of Hillside Village Block 1, lots 51 through 74, Block 3, lots 1 through 20, Block 5, lots 1 through 20, Block 8, lots 13 through 22, located in the Maximo Moreno Survey Abstract Number 14. This case will be presented by Senior Neighborhood Planner, Ms. Christina Strickland.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you. This is the last item on your agenda, and we'll make this quick and pleasant. So again, this is for Hillside Village Phase 3. Like Kelly mentioned earlier, this would normally go on consent agenda, but I wanted to go ahead and bring it to your attention and review it because it brings all happy good things. On your screen on the left-hand side is a vicinity map. You can see that it's located south of Barnhart Road and to the east of Little River Road. And then your aerial map, you can just see it is an upcoming subdivision on the east side of Temple. I don't know. I don't know. Apologies.
This should go away, but it's not.
I'm okay with it if everybody is okay with it.
Make sure that we still have the share going.
Sure. So just a brief summary, this is a 17 plus or minus acre lot. It's for 94 lots over a 6-block span. This replat does provide a southward connecting roadway and a pedestrian connection to future development to the south. For access, circulation, and drainage, all lots will remain accessible from current road connections off of Blackland Road, and the lots will now have an additional connection point to the south. Pedestrian access will continue from Blackland Road into the development. Water and sewer is available, which was previously approved with the original subdivision, but there is an 8-inch water line along Westphalia and a 6-inch water line along Yarlton and Zappicville Drive. Wastewater is also available through an 8-inch sewer line on Westphalia, Yarlton, and Zappicville Drive. Park fee is $225 per dwelling unit, so that'll equate to $20,150. It is consistent with a future land use plan. There's no conflict with the thoroughfare plan. And the Trails Master Plan, I wanted to bring this up. This was of note. There is actually no requirement for the local roads to have sidewalks. However, a minimum of 4-foot wide sidewalk is required along the eastern side of Boggy Creek Drive connecting to Blackland, and that was through the PD that was originally approved with this subdivision. So of course that will still be a requirement. However, they're always able to upsize this, but the minimum is a 4-foot. DRC reviewed this on June 4th, and it was deemed administratively complete on June 24th, and you're the final approving body. And it is located in the Barnhart Neighborhood Planning District, and this is in compliance with that. On your screen on the left is the original subdivision. You can see that Westphalia just continues into Boggy Creek, and there's no connection. And then on the right-hand side, you can now see that there is a stub out going to the south, and some of the lots have been reconfigured to accommodate this. That accommodation it was a collaboration between the neighborhood planning team, the external planning team, and the owners. And the developers were kind enough to meet with all of us and have brain sessions of how to get pedestrians safely from point A to point B. And it was very well received, very well supported. So this is neighborhood planning actually making changes to current subdivisions. And the owner and developer were gracious enough to take their time to do a replat to make this happen. So not only is the area going to get a southward connection, but they're also going to continue on that pedestrian connector along Boggy Creek and connect it to Blackland Road, just giving everybody a safe connection to Blackland Road, which will connect to additional pedestrian connectors. So I feel like that I wanted to bring that to you guys just to show you this is neighborhood planning at its best. And it's such a win for everybody involved. So hats off to Turley and Associates and city staff and everybody involved. It was a good day. So staff does recommend approval of Hillside Village Phase 3, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions or comments? Nope, not seeing any. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for approve FY 24-34 PLT.
Second.
All right, a motion has been made by Commissioner Morales and a second by Commissioner Smith to approve item 7 FY 20-34 PLT as per staff recommendation. Kathy, can we get a vote?
Yes. Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Jean.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney.
Aye.
Vice Chair McBride.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Further business? All right, we'll conclude the meeting at 7:23. Thank you,
That was
everybody.
supposed to be like a happier, like.
You guys are buying dinner,
Yay.
right? The city's buying dinner?
No, thanks, buddy. Last time I checked, anything times zero, still.
0 times 0 0. Sorry, nobody wanted to do it. I had to. At that point, it just needs to be a disapprove anyways, because obviously nobody wants to go forward with it. I love saying no. Here's your stuff, ma'am.
Thanks.